second. Hello, hello, hello. You guys hear me? Not here. Not be heard. Anything to say today, bro? Got a yes inside. My Lord. Thanks, Jim. Always comes back to haunt you. Welcome back, folks. Welcome back. I hope that some of my technical difficulties are still some of my charm, because I don't know what other kinds of charms I possess, but you're here. That's good. We're going to have some fun. I'm going to get pissed first, but we're going to hold off on that for a second. My apologies that it took a second or two. I don't know what the hell happened this time. It disconnected the audio. I couldn't hear anything. Usually it's the mic that's the problem. What the fuck's going on here? That's right. I'm going to curse more because I dare them to demonetize me. That's where we're at. And I'm going to need to curse because I'm really pissed off. So let me start by getting this off of my chest. Okay. Well, I mean, look, what's been going on in Los Angeles is fascism. It is clear, unabated, full force fascism. It's being conducted by Donald Trump, likely to hide the news that he and little Elon Musk got in a fight, and Elon said that he should be impeached because Pooty Poot didn't have the time to go riding on a horse with his boobs hanging down again and decided to put in the order that Musk and Trump got in a fight. Do I know that? No, but I know he controls both of them. I know that he offered Elon asylum after he got in a fight with Trump. I know that he came out with Musk and has had numerous private conversations like the ones Trump had when he kicked the translators out. And Trump has failed him. You have failed me, Lord Vader. Yeah, he has failed him. Trump couldn't stop his one job. He had one job for Putin to help elect him, and that was for him to deliver Ukraine. Can't do it, though. Can't do it. I mean, that's the one thing they changed in the 2016 platform. They talked about it, I don't know how many times. Paul Manafort, obviously, went to jail, connections to Ukraine, worked there for the Putin puppet. We can go on and on. You guys know all of the Trump and Russia connections. Like, Trump has more connections to Russia than he does to America by a lot. Well, Elon Musk, more and more, too. Right. He's tied to Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel owns Rumble. The Russians have invested in that. They are pushing right-wing propaganda and on the far left to try to divide this country to ensure we can never elect a sane leader again and we destroy ourselves from within. And so far, we're doing a pretty good job, even though we're fighting back. But I'm going to tell you today how the fuck to fight back against these sons of bitches that are destroying a country I love, because there are ways we can do it. But know where this is coming from. Know that this was unnecessary, ridiculous. And you know what? Here, why don't we see if I can get you a quick video. See how that works. And I think he's someone who can say it even better than I'm saying it right now in terms of what has just happened. If it works, if it doesn't, we'll go back to me.
Say a few words about the events of the last few days. This past weekend, federal agents conducted large-scale workplace raids in and around Los Angeles. Those raids continue as I speak. California is no stranger to immigration enforcement, but instead of focusing on undocumented immigrants with serious criminal records and people with final deportation orders, a strategy both parties have long supported, this administration is pushing mass deportations.
Yes, Donald Trump has come in like the sleazy little Jabba the Hutt scumbag he is and decided he needed to change the news because he tripped his fucking ass over trying to climb up on an airplane because he's 112 years old and has the mind of congealed cheese from 2 weeks ago. He didn't want that in the news. He didn't want in the news that Elon Musk was taunting him, insulting him, saying that he should be impeached. And again, Vladimir Putin didn't want any of this shit in the news because he's pretty embarrassed right now, too. Trump was supposed to get rid of Zelensky, but guess what Zelensky did? Zelensky pulled off a $47,000, put drones in trucks, fool stupid Russian goofs like Putin, who's supposed to be smart from being in the KGB or something, and send them in and blow up over 40 Russian planes used to murder women and children, places like Kiev and other parts of Ukraine. That's what happened. And so Putin wants the narration changed. Elon Musk probably does too, being that he brought up the Jeffrey Epstein thing, and we can get more deep into that too. But of course, what happened? That tweet magically disappeared. Why? Why would Elon do that? Did he get orders from the headquarters out in the Kremlin? And why did Trump do this? Same thing. Again, change the narrative. It's hard to cover dumbass falling over on a plane, and it's hard to cover his little squabble with his little incel billionaire friend. And let's call him an incellionaire, if you will, when we've got flashbang grenades blowing up. So let's cut to the chase here. I think this is where I want to begin.
What's happening right now is very different than anything we've seen before. On Saturday morning, when federal agents jumped out of an unmarked van near a Home Depot
Unmarked
parking lot,
van.
they began grabbing
Fascism.
people, a deliberate targeting of a heavily Latino suburb. A similar scene played out when a clothing company was raided downtown. In other actions, a U.S. citizen, 9 months pregnant, was arrested. A 4-year-old girl
was beaten too,
taken,
by the way.
families separated, friends quite literally disappearing. In response, everyday Angelenos came out to exercise their constitutional right.
Yeah, we still have
free
First
speech
and
assembly,
Amendment
to
rights and
protest
Fourth
their
Amendment
government's
rights.
actions. In turn, the state of California and the city and county of Los Angeles sent our police officers to help keep the peace. And with some exceptions, they were successful. Like many states, California is no
Here comes the key part,
to this sort of unrest.
and we're going to tell you how to
We
prevent
manage
this.
it regularly and with our own law enforcement. But this, again, was different. What then ensued was the use of tear gas, flashbang grenades, rubber bullets, federal agents detaining people and undermining their due process rights. Donald Trump, without consulting California law enforcement leaders, commandeered 2,000 of our state's National Guard members to deploy on our streets, illegally and for no reason. This brazen abuse of power by a sitting president inflamed a combustible situation.
So let's talk about that, because that's what's key here. Donald Trump wanted this fight. He wanted a combustible situation. He wanted there to be destruction in Los Angeles. He wanted there to be headlines. He wanted to show how tough he was. He's feeling weak after falling over and getting his ass kicked by his fellow incellionaire. So what's the end result of that? The people of Los Angeles have to suffer. Of course, it's LA. He hates LA. They hate California. It's catnip for, you're missing the left part of your cerebrum, part of the MAGA brain. They just love it, right? When you go into California, a 4-year-old girl, think about that, folks. A 4-year-old girl is pulled out of a classroom. A pregnant woman is beaten as she's arrested. She's an American citizen too. Australian reporter. Yeah, a reporter. And the difference is Australian reporters are actually real reporters telling the truth. You can see in the video, I put a video out about it, the guy, the LAPD guy who literally looks like he's in the middle of a war zone. I mean, this isn't just normal LAPD. This is jacked up, armored LAPD, turns towards her and shoots her in the leg with a rubber bullet. There's literally nothing that could have been accidental about that at all, okay? Unless this man obviously shoots like Donald Trump eats. So we have all this going on, all this insanity, and none of it was necessary. None. California handles this. New York handles this. All sorts of places handle this. They handle unrest. Remember, there's a time Republicans said they were for states' rights and local rights. You may remember that. It was a long time ago, or maybe last week when they were lying about shit again. But here is how you stop the sons of bitches. First of all, I'm worried about people's personal safety. Let me take this video out of here for a second. and put something else in here, which is this was the kind of advice that was given after Kent State, not that far north of here, a couple hours in Ohio from where I live. Okay. I want to make sure to put this in here so people know. What makes it really tough for these sons of bitches to pull this kind of stuff off is if it looks like they are attacking peaceful protesters. Nothing makes it more difficult for them if they have to do that. They need to do whatever they can to make it look like it is the fault of those who are out there. And that is, of course, what they're trying to do. And that's how it's being reported. So here you go. Sit down. Ooh, look at that. I'm hearing from David. I'll get back to him. David, I have a presentation. 1 minute. So what's the deal? Well, what you have is for people, they should just mass sit down. Just sit down. There's a reason sit-ins work. Everyone in Los Angeles sit down and make the sons of bitches lift you up, make them drag you, make them throw you into a truck. It becomes quite obvious to people. This is the kinds of things that Martin Luther King did, Gandhi. It makes it very obvious who the offenders are. If you're up there and you're throwing stuff, I understand. I would want to throw things at these cars too. But if you do it, you're breaking the law. And you in the end, you're helping the other side win the propaganda war, which is what they're fighting right now. Putin, Trump, Elon, a whole bunch of them. So please sit there, take care of yourself, have a martini, have some good tequila. In fact, my Mexican friends, Casa Amigos, my favorite. You probably know even better stuff. Do it. All right. Second of all, what you need to do from this is we need other governors to step up the way Gavin Newsom just did. Gavin Newsom's made mistakes. We've criticized him here for it. Maybe now we won't ever have Charlie Kirk back on a podcast. I'm not going to hold it against him. What he's done in that moment, we needed a leader, we needed a voice, and he stood up. And we need to look at people as total humans. He was great there. I want J.B. Pritzker to stand up. Okay. I want Hochul to stand up. I want numerous, especially big states with large Latino populations. But imagine right now if governors and mayors across the country stood up and made speeches just like his. Local news would cover all of them. All you have to do is insult the 34 count convict Donald Trump. Yes, call him that every time. When he says we're going in and get criminals, you ask him, why aren't you going after yourself? When he says, oh, the criminals and rapists that come in here, well, you're an adjudicated rapist and you're a criminal. Remind people, why do Democrats not do that every time? He's a fucking criminal. And the only reason he's not in a cell is because he got elected president by stupid people. All right. So that he can attack my country and your country. But I want to see Pritzker's been amazing. Hochul, not so much. You know what? Fine. Get up. Get up and make speeches. Mayors of major cities. Now's your moment. All right. I hope I see the same here in Cincinnati. We've got a great mayor, Aftab Purval, who's, part, I believe, Indian American, Tibetan. He's the kind of person that'd be perfect to get up and tell them we have things under control. We have local control. Stay the fuck out of our city. You don't have to put it like that because little Donald's penis will shrivel up if you do like Stormy said it did. So put it in a way he can understand and say, stay out. We don't need you in here inciting riot, causing violence. That's the second thing you can do. And we would have not only press covering us for a couple days in a row if they were to start this tomorrow, but it would show the kind of strength and resolve that, guess what, people like, that disaffected Republicans, that independents, and yes, Democrats want to see. And finally, the final thing I want to say on this, and I've talked about this before. Last week we had Malcolm Nance. We need the biggest No Kings rally on Saturday in the history of No Kings rallies, which should be easy because there's never been a No Kings rally before. But I'm talking about in terms of all rallies. I've talked about this on other shows. We got 5 million people, 5 million to come out for those two former protests, which is great. But in Belgrade, against Vucic or whatever his stupid name is, a little fascist, 1/6 of the Serbian population came out. 20 million Americans would be half that. It would be about 1/12 of the American population. I want 20 million Americans to go out. I'm going to go out to my local one of my family here in Cincinnati. All of you. I'm going to be spreading this message. Go out for No King's Day. Respond. It's Donald Trump's little birthday where he's going to feel like he's great. Make him the nothing that he is. Respond. Have more people out in force throughout the country. Not in D.C. They're not even doing one in D.C. No chance for Donald Trump then to gin up some sort of a fight and act like he's being attacked. You know, maybe fake some glass hitting him in the face. What we need here is people around the country to stand up and say, no more. We're not accepting this. Stay out of our communities. We don't want kings. There aren't kings in this country. You're not a king. You don't have the right to control tariffs with some emergency act you pulled out of your ass. All right. You don't have the right to usurp local authority and grab the National Guard. You can't do this. And if they were to do that, if we were to get 20 million people again, that's half percentage-wise of what they were able to do in Serbia. Just imagine going from a bunch of major governors and mayors into that march. That is the response this needs. We would dominate the news for 4 or 5 days. We would give people hope. We'd get people to stand up. Courage would beget more courage. So please, my friends, go out and march. Encourage your elected officials to give speeches like Gavin Newsom. Preempt him going to other states and cities like this. He's already going to some of them. We can't control where these little douchebag Republicans are in control, but we have a lot of places where Democrats are. Most major cities, most cities in general, and a whole lot of big states. So reach out to your representatives and get them to do it. I'm tired of this shit. This isn't America, and we're not putting up with it. And that is what I have to say today. And yes, I see somebody saying here, the Pope will actually be out in a stadium that day to give us the perfect actual American response. All right, let me remove this. Not sure what happened. Let me try to bring David Schustster in. I appreciate you guys listening to me. I needed to get that off my chest in a pretty serious way. 1 second. Okay, did I give you the wrong code? Here is the right one. Sorry. I have a bad habit of reading while I'm typing what I'm, so you guys know what I'm saying then. Hoping David can get in here. There are all sorts of weird crap going on here today, folks. I don't know what the deal is. I think we're not even getting the people at it told me at the last second that the title was not somehow Twitch friendly. So I think we lost the Twitch people. It was telling me initially when I put like a comment in that my comment was it looked like spam. So YouTube rejected it. Like what the, I feel like I'm being attacked by every app right now. Amethyst pony or amethyst pony, pardon my whatever. How long before Trump just explodes like the cartoon villain he is? If we're based upon caloric consumption, if we're based on rage or based on crushed Adderall snorting, my guess is he would have exploded already. Will he explode? Good question. I just make sure. Yeah, I don't know if you ever saw The Meaning of Life. Just make sure you're nowhere in the neighborhood when it happens because it's ugly. Facebook said you were spam, huh, Cynthia? Is that like today or is that something from the past? I don't know. All that 60s LSD. Yeah, well, I think some of that LSD got into Joni Ernst. I just wrote something about it, or I wrote something about it before, and we had a guest columnist. But after that video she did in the graveyard after her "We All Die" thing, I mean, if she wasn't on acid, somebody needs to tell me what she was on. And I see somebody say, yeah, Jim is saying Governor Kathy Hochul needs support from her AG. Not sure what we're seeing there. But AGs, maybe the sort of down ballot position, right, of the government, of the state government, but it still is a strong executive position. AGs should stand up and speak too. This is a time for folks not to be cautious. The old saying, right? I'd rather say I'm sorry than ask for permission. Don't ask for permission. If you're worried, just tried this one backstage and I see nothing. How is Schustster not able to get in? Invite guest. Trying one more time. We are here, guys, right? This isn't like some like weird dreamlike sequence like Inception or something. I mean, we are actually here. Trying again. That is the exact one they gave me. Has been acting up today, though. This is really fucking annoying if I can't get David in here for this discussion. I really wanted him here for this discussion. Anybody have any idea how we can MacGyver this shit? Because I may have to do that. Let's see. R.I.P. Brian. Oh, did Brian Wilson pass away? Well, that's a shame. It is an R.I.P. And Sly Stone. I know we're losing all the good ones. God damn it, you stupid app. I'm really not a fan of anything today that is technological. That's a shame, but I'm seeing what you're saying, MJ. I really, really want to get David in here, and I'm trying to figure out how the hell to do that. I mean, I think it would be kind of weak if I called him on the phone. Should I FaceTime him? Okay, let's see where this takes you. Let's see if I can enter the studio as a guest, guys. You're backstage. Only the host can see you. Weird, weird shit. God damn it. What shall we do? We really can't start the whole damn thing over again. You make me angry. So why don't I at least, ping Tony. Tony can help. Somebody find out from him. Help us, Tony. And maybe we'll get somebody else in here. But what do you guys think? Give me some comments because, again, I was going to be talking with David, and let me know what your thoughts are on what you're seeing in LA, what we need to do. Again, my three things are that people be safe and they sit down and just sit. Sit in the streets. Sit in the streets. There's Tony. Here is the link, baby. So what do you guys think? No twitting, no blue sky, no nothing. But so there's no Twitter? It's not on Twitter? It's not anywhere like that? There's some weird crap going on today. There are strange things afoot at the Circle K, my friends. All right, who said that? I'll get you guys something first. I don't know. I'll send you a hat or something. There are strange things afoot at the Circle K. Cliff, what do they do after the police start? Don't go all Hulk. I'm getting there. Trust me. What do they do after the police start arresting him? Well, you get arrested, and you make sure that you know your constitutional rights. So Tony's telling me this is the wrong link. How can it be the wrong link if I'm in here right now? How can that be? Guys, I'm doing some sleuthing. Hold on. Need it from the bottom of the page you are in. Yeah, that's where I got it from. But we'll try again. Okay, guys, we're I know, so I hope we're not boring people here, because everybody's like, "What the hell's going on?" So keep talking, guys. Keep talking about things that bothered you that you saw in LA or whatever. I thought that was a great question. Look, when you get arrested, you need to know your rights. You ask them if you're being detained or arrested. If they tell you you're being arrested, you ask them what you're being arrested for. And at that point, you tell them that you have a Fifth Amendment right and you're not speaking until you have a lawyer present. That's what you do. They have no right to do anything to you. I'm not saying that they might not, but these are the dangers of doing this. But this is the only way we can take our democracy back. So it's what you got to do. But yeah, when they take you and arrest you, they're going to arrest you if you're up and you're fighting. The difference is if you're up and you're fighting with them, you're going to be portrayed as guilty. They pick you up off the ground, drag you over, and put you into a truck. Guess who's guilty there? Guess who the violent ones are? It's classic nonviolence. Trying to conduct this while also trying to invite people on when it's not working is just the weirdest shit in the world. And the thing is I didn't even, I tried to get things ready today because I wanted to do this rant so I could bring video in and other stuff, but it's not like I did a bunch of strange stuff. Yeah, talk about my broke ass chair. There you go, Cynthia. You guys want anybody, $1.99 super chat for a new chair for Cliff? In all seriousness, like, it's comfortable. What do you want from me? But I'm open to it being insulted. You can do it. You can rip the crap out of it. But it is comfortable, feels nice. All right. So, okay, good. We're getting some stuff here. There's a citizen reporter out in LA that the media never showed who got hit in the forehead by shrapnel coming from a police gas canister Saturday night. Media never showed his video is still up. Well, William, if you have a link to that video, please send that here. What in the so I'm hearing from Tony that it's still an old untitled room. So how would it be working? How is this working if it's an old entitled room? I guess I'm just gonna have to let this go soon, guys, or it's gonna end up I'm gonna bore you more, and we're not gonna have like a really good conversation. And that's what this is supposed to be for me to rant, and for you to rant, and for us to talk back and forth and talk about Donald Trump and what a fat fuck he is and how much we hate him, and that's what this is supposed to be here for. This is therapy, man. And don't get it any other way to get you guys in. Period. Be creative. I think I'd have to FaceTime them in. Have a Mexican festival. Is that like testicle? Have a Mexican festival, food trucks and music, protest and party with their cultural, peaceful. I love it. I would do that. I think it's a great idea. But again, if you have a festival, be very clear. You're eating, stay congregated, stay near each other. I think that's a fantastic idea. Look at that. Grumpy Cat coming to me with strange things are afoot at the Circle K. And therefore, Grumpy Cat, you're going to have to send something to Cliff at blowampstrategies.com. And we're going to have to get you something for that because you nailed it. I have to turn this off, though. Don't worry. Just keep doing your show. So we're just going to have to do this show. We're doing it live, as we would say. You know what? And this is the one I get to do each week. So you know what? We're just going to do this shit. We're MacGyvering this shit differently. So again, NoKings.org, which I should have said during my rant, that is where you go to sign up for a No Kings rally near you on Saturday. That's important to know. As I said, ensuring you're peaceful. Do not have weapons, okay? Actually, do not have anything that could look like it could be hiding weapons, which I'm guessing, and with the LA weather right now, wouldn't be something you would do anyhow. But shorts, t-shirt kind of thing, can't be hiding anything, right? And that's what I'm talking about in terms of sitting down. A Mexican festival will be a nice thing too. But anything, what I love about the Mexican festival idea is let them try to attack that as you show hope and joy. Let that fucking regurgitated thumb, Tom Homan. And when I say regurgitated, I want you to understand that, he looks like a thumb that's actually been through the human digestive process for at least an hour. I'm going to go with 6 or 7 hours before being regurgitated. That scumbag. You don't want to give them any opportunity, any excuse to come and attack you. None. So if that is the plan, and that is the plan, weapons free, happy, a Mexican sort of festival where you're eating good stuff. I just, in honor of this, went out to Mexican last night. Had some great tacos, a good burrito, had some good tequila. Swear to God, I'm going to freaking have Mexican food every damn day if it doesn't destroy me. It could be spicy. I don't mean in any other way. I love Mexican food. There you go. Thank you, Jim. Be there, folks. Be there. I think that is the one of the best things we can do right now. What our elected officials can do, as I said, is stand up and make their voices heard, like Newsom did. What we can do is stand up and or sit down, if you will, and make our voices heard. Same idea with the protest on Saturday, because there are going to be probably some ICE around the country. There'll be local Donald Trump freaks, whatever. It's hard to tell the difference these days. Some of the January 6th folks, as we knew he would do, who he pardoned, magically are members of ICE now. I mean, you want to bring the ones with the extra Y chromosome and, 2-digit IQs to be the ones to perform these kinds of acts, and literally no conscience and a lot of sociopathy. So we knew when he did that, he was inspiring his own militia. That's what he was doing. Yeah. So, I mean, you got to make it clear who the bad guys are. And look, it sucks. You may get roughed up. I've been roughed up before. I've been arrested before when there was no cause. I think I've told that story on here. It's not good. It's not fun. You're not going to enjoy it. But if you're going, the chances are still slim that it will happen. And if you're going out and you're fighting for your country, you're going out and you're fighting for your country. And so there is that risk. But again, know your rights. I would tell you a great thing to do. Advice given to me, by the way, by my friend who we had on last week, Malcolm Nance. And again, Malcolm Nance is a counterterrorism expert who I once asked on if he killed people, and he wouldn't answer. So he knows stuff. Get a pocket constitution and carry it with you. Go to these rallies with a pocket constitution. They arrest you. You go and they seat you at a table. Sit down. Take out your constitution and let them have it. Not let them have it, like deck them with it, though that would be a really cool movie scene. But no, put it on the table and say, am I being arrested or detained? If I'm not being arrested, if I'm not being held, I'd like to leave. Make it clear. I'm going to leave unless I'm being held for some reason. I have the right to consult my lawyer. I'd like to make my phone call right now. You can, even if they won't let you make it, tell them, give them your phone, your lawyer's phone number, but have a lawyer is my best advice for you. Doesn't matter. It can be a friend who just has some legal, but just have someone who can be, because that's a way to alert someone you've been arrested too. And again, don't answer any questions. There's no lawyer present. They have no rights. They cannot do it. There you go. Thanks, Chipmunk Milk. GI Rights Hotline. So for all of you folks who are military, ex-military, have that handy. Look, Tony Michael's podcast is here. It's almost like if you say, get a pocket constitution 3 times in a mirror, Tony Michaels appears. He has a pocket constitution on his website. You can go get it and download it. If you do that, not only will you be supporting the great Tony Michaels, but you'll be getting yourself a pocket constitution. And I just want to also point out here, because for once in my life, I can talk and Tony can't answer me, that whenever I show up in the chat and his show for fun, he just pretends I'm not there, or he just doesn't see me. He never says anything. I want you guys to all remember, I showed his ass up. Well, not his ass, but you know what I mean. I showed him up here. I talked about his pocket constitution because that's the kind of guy I am. Because I love me some Tony Michaels. Love. Tony, should I FaceTime you right now? I could do that. Let's see. I'm going to FaceTime Tony Michaels in here. Let's see what we can do. Then I may FaceTime David Schustster. I mean, I figure it's my chat. We can do whatever we want, right? Let's see. Come on, FaceTime. Okay. Let's see. Come on, Tony. I'm calling you. I'm FaceTiming you. Look, he's there. Can I hear you? Can you hear me? Hello? Oh, you're coming through here. Hilarious. So I can hear Tony through here. Let's put these away. We don't need the AirPods. Let's get the audio through the speaker here. There you go.
Can the audience hear me in the microphone?
I think they can. Tell them some stuff. Tell them about your pocket constitution.
You just go to theTonyMichaels.com and download the Pocket Constitution.
I mean,
that's what you should do.
But you gotta love Tails Molasses here, who comes at me with Gen X tech savvy skills.
Right?
That's about right. That's about right. I told you we would MacGyver this shit, right? Like,
as always.
So what do you have to add? I don't know. Did you hear any of my rant?
Yeah, I actually did a little bit in between for making sure that we stay loud and proud. And you know, the Pocket Constitution, as much as like you should have one, whether it's a physical one or just like a file on your phone, which that's kind of what the one I've got. You just go and you download it and you can just save it on your phone. You can pull it up anytime you want. But actually, tomorrow I'll be sharing a link where you can buy a printed one. But it doesn't matter where you get it or how you have it. The most important thing is that you have it, but you share it. Like that's the thing is you got to
share it with people. But the key points I was saying to people that I put together for today. I'm talking in my miniature version of Tony Michaels here. It's so cool. Is that first of all, for people's own protection, I said, you know, and someone shared this after Kent State, what they were telling protesters, which is just sit down. They cannot claim you're doing something violent. They can't come up with an excuse to attack you. It's much harder. They can't be like, well, we lost that person in the crowd. We couldn't tell what they were doing if you're sitting on your ass on the sidewalk. And if they drag you away, they're dragging you away. And it's quite obvious you're being peaceful. Somebody else brought up having a Mexican food truck come. I don't know if it could get through is the issue, folks. But if you could.
Any kind of celebration, like you were saying.
Yep.
You know, where you're celebrating, it's happy, and you're happy to protest the federal government and the overreach of the federal government and what is Trump's tyranny. When you're happy to protest that, and we are happy to be out in the streets together to defeat this fascist regime. When that attitude is portrayed, right? Even though there may be some agitators, there might be some outside actors that are trying to stoke the protest into violence or a firestorm. You know, there's going to be always those little pockets of things that happen.
Of course.
But as long as the majority of the protest is peaceful, especially the ones that you participate in, you're operating within your constitution.
And you can make it more that way with your behavior. Because again, as we always say, human behavior is viral.
Right.
If someone sees you throwing rocks, they may throw rocks. You're modeling shitty behavior if you're doing that. And you're going.
But if they see you dancing and having fun.
That's what I'm saying. Dance and have fun. Invite a food truck if it can get through, if the police won't let it through or whatever. Okay, then you can play some Mexican music, hang out together. Does Mini Tony have a mini? Oh, I don't know what his schlong looks like in here, to be honest with you. I gotta be honest, ET, but just for the $5 super chat, I'm gonna not only read that, but I'm gonna make Tony. No, I'm just kidding. But But so I just wanted to get the 3 points. To me, the 3 points were protect yourself and continue to protest. All right. Do not let them scare you away. Show up. 2, which is we need more speeches like Gavin Newsom's preemptively. Because preemptively right now, there are a number of other major states. I think of New York. I think of Illinois, where Pritzker has been amazing, across the country that have Democratic governors and have large Latino populations. And it really shouldn't even matter if you do have a large Latino population. Imagine a crazy thing, guys, if you will, right? Just sit here and just dream with me. Democrats speaking in one voice. Imagine if off of that Gavin Newsom speech, J.B. Pritzker made a speech and Kathy Hochul made a speech and Nancy, damn it, what's her name? The awesome one that won in Kansas, Democrat, made a speech, and Andy Beshear made a speech, okay? And Gretchen Whitmer made a speech, and can't think of his name, in Wisconsin, made a speech, and just have Democrats, or, Governor Josh Shapiro, and these, all over the country, Democratic governors, but further than that, mayors, Democratic mayors, get up in your cities and say, we're doing great here. We do not need the federal government to come in. The federal government, by coming in, will only create more chaos, more mayhem, as they did in Los Angeles, will only incite riot. We have everything handled. Please stay out. And maybe say it more forcefully than that. And say, and if Donald Trump starts saying stuff to you about, oh, he has to come in, because there are criminals there, you can be like, well, you're a 34 count criminal and I don't want you in here. So why don't you stay out of here? And then we'll have one fewer criminal here. If it gets to that point, right? But if it doesn't get to that point, just say, stay out. The cities have it handled. You are going to cause violence. You're going to cause mayhem. You're going to cause chaos. That's what you want for your friend Vladimir Putin, and to get Elon Musk out of the news and make people forget that you're a dumbass who fell on your face getting on the airplane. I guess you didn't have toilet paper attached to your foot this time, so we'll consider that a plus. But you know what? Stay out. And if every Democrat stood up and said, stay out of here right now, and say, you guys used to claim to believe in state rights, used to claim to believe in local rights. So how about you stay the fuck out of here? How about you let us handle it? We know how to handle it. We've been handling this for years, as Gavin Newsom said. We know how to handle these measures on the ground here. Stay out. That to me, if they would start and they would make those, again, this is just like messaging narrative. If they would start making those speeches tonight, tomorrow, one after the other, national news would cover the first few. They'd cover some interesting ones after that. And local news would cover every single one of them. You dominate the news. And then part 3, you go into Saturday off of that momentum, and we have the No Kings rally. And we say, okay, Belgrade, okay, Serbia, you were able to get 1/6 of your population. We're not going to do that. That's 40 million people. But how about we get 1/12? How about we get half, per capita of what Serbia did? Can we do that? How about we get 20 million people, which would be 4 times what those past rallies were? That should be our goal in my mind. Get 20 million Americans out there in the streets so that you can say, that we had 1/12 of the U.S. population out there saying, stop. Stop with the tariffs. Stop with ICE. Stop with every illegal maneuver with your stupid meme coins and your pocketing our money, and you're destroying government jobs, and you're wrecking farms, and you're ignoring the Constitution. Stop. And I think that combination of events would lead to a sort of 4, 5, 6, 7 day Democratic domination of the narrative over this, where we would get to define what it is that happened.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think the speech from Gavin Newsom is so important. One, because so many people who are against Trump, and I'm not just talking about blue-haired liberals here. I'm talking about Democratic Republicans, people from across the political spectrum, whether they're, Republican and have become anti-Trump or were never Trump. Maybe they voted for Trump 3 times, but they just won't tolerate either his tyranny on tariffs or his tyranny in the states.
Or voted for him once, or voted for nobody, or voted for Jill Stein. At this point, I can judge everybody later. But at this point, come out.
That's right. There's also Democratic Republicans that are liberals. There's Democratic Republicans who are on the left because they believe in our republic and they believe that it should be democratic and they believe that we should be following the Constitution and the law, regardless of what kind of manufactured crisis that Donald Trump comes up with in whatever state he wants. And, there's already reports that now there's nothing verified through the administration yet, but there are reports out there and they're floating this trial balloon that next they will go into they're going to deploy ICE in cities like Chicago, Seattle, Philadelphia.
And that's why these governors and the mayors of those cities need to be out preempted. The best thing you can ever do in any debate, in any argument, in any fight is define what your opponent is going to do before they do it. And if you say, if they come in here, they are only coming in here to cause violence. They're only coming in here to attack people. They're only coming in here to scare and terrorize 4-year-old children, to beat a 9-month-old pregnant woman like they did in Los Angeles, who's a U.S. citizen. That is the only result that will come from their being in here. They don't know what they're doing. They are incompetent. They are corrupt. They are criminals. We have handled this for years. We know how to handle this. We will handle this. Stay out. In that strength of language. And that's why, knowing that they're going to go to other places, that's why I came up with this idea, because I thought to myself, okay, Gavin gave a great speech, whatever, how do we keep it going? That's how we keep it going. And right now, if I'm correct, they're in LA, right? I mean, obviously they're in LA, but I don't think they're in San Francisco. Mayor of San Francisco, whose name I forget, stand up and make a speech. Mayor of Santa Barbara, stand up and make a speech. Mayor of Carmel, that's probably Republican, but whatever. And wherever it is in California where there are Democratic governors, stand up in solidarity. What's his name? Is it Bonda? I'm trying to remember, the Attorney General in California. He sent out a great tweet the other day. That's awesome. Most people do not see tweets, believe it or not. Get up and make a speech. Get up and support Gavin Newsom, your governor. Get up and support, more importantly, the people of Los Angeles and their rights and the rights of all of us under the Constitution, and then have it sweep out across the country. Because again, they will do this. They're going to. It's one of the few cards Trump has to play to get the attention he wants and to feel like he's alive, because he needs to harm people to feel alive, and to get the news cycle to change from the inevitably shitty things he does every day that blow up in his face.
Well, and I think this is going to blow up in his face too. And the reason why is because I think he jacked with the wrong governor. Like the last blue state governor that he really wanted to play with here, I think, is Gavin Newsom. Now, there could be an argument made that the reason why he went after Gavin Newsom is because he sees him as his biggest threat to him running an unconstitutional campaign for a third term. An illegal unconstitutional campaign for a third term, which Trump is going to do.
Right.
I think we should stop ignoring that. We should say that out loud.
Again, you preempt bad things that people are going to do by defining what they're going to do. Donald Trump plans to run illegally for a third term. As you just said, keep saying that.
Right. And I think the reason why he's messing with Gavin Newsom is because he really sees him as his opposition. And
California. I mean, it's I think it's the combination. It's Gavin Newsom as his opposition running against him, but it's also California has the 5th biggest economy in the country. This country
has 52 electoral votes.
Well, that too, but I'm just saying our economy, as bad as Trump's already made it, is complete shit without California. I mean, California is one of the biggest drivers of our, again, on its own, the 5th biggest economy in the world. I mean, that's the other thing Gavin Newsom has at his disposal if he wants and needs to use it. Call for a general strike. Call for every single person to just sit down in California. Republicans won't, but that's Trump Republicans at this point in California are probably 30-something% at most. Shut everything down. See how they like it when there's no economy coming out of California. I know that will hurt some Californians too, and I know that is a last maneuver. It's the kind of thing you don't want to do, but trust me, it will destroy Trump's economy. I'm just saying you gotta use the leverage.
You gotta use the tools that you have in front of you. And the other thing too, I think that is significant about.
And Dark Shabdu here is saying it's now the 4th largest economy. See, so I'm not even giving it its full credit. I mean, think about what they could do. Go ahead, Tony.
Well, and And the other thing that is very important with a general strike, and if Donald Trump tries to arrest Gavin Newsom, because there's been talk about that Tom Homan's going to arrest him. I think Speaker Johnson said that he may or may not should be arrested, but he definitely should be tarred and feathered. And I think Tom Homan said he's going to arrest him. I think others have added.
Then Homan noticed, though, he backed off after that. He initially said it. Yeah.
Right, but here's what I'll tell you: is if they arrest Gavin Newsom,
then
Gavin Newsom becomes our Alexei Navalny.
Yeah, I mean, I think
it guarantees that Gavin Newsom will not only be the candidate for president of the United States, but he will likely be the president of the United States.
So
to some form and fashion.
I say, but I would, my argument is also, yeah. So it backfires. You elevate Gavin Newsom, and they know it. You make him sort of your cheap op. Yeah, they have. But even worse than that, they give us something to rally around. You have just illegally arrested the governor of the largest state in the country for being a Democrat. I mean, if they really want shit to get ugly, that's how they'll ensure it gets ugly.
Right.
And so, that's how I see it. I just think they know, and that's why I was proud of Gavin Newsom for calling that bluff. And especially the way he messaged it was perfect. He's like, you want to come arrest me, tough guy? I'm right here. Come arrest me. Just take your damn hands off 4-year-old girls in elementary schools and stop pulling them out of class to arrest. I mean, something like that. That was perfect. Again, narrative is about you need to make a comparison. You want to arrest? Oh, they're saying they can't hear you, Tony. I'm sorry. I got to put you closer to the mic. Here, just for a second, don't talk. There's Tony's face. See? Isn't it nice? Okay. Now you can hear. But that to me is what you do here. That's the play. They can't win that. There's no way they can win that. All it can do is backfire, and it seems that some of them are at least smart enough to know that.
Right. Well, and I mean, again, that's where the rubber meets the road, is when we're talking about things like, hey, you create. Because I've talked about this before, and with you and with the audience, is that political movements are not made by politicians. They are co-opted by politicians. It is an opportunity that someone takes. And this coalition that is building against Donald Trump is almost handing over the opportunity for Gavin Newsom to collectively gather it up with all the support of the Democratic governors. And I think it's really important that people understand that if a coalition comes from the governors of the states is different than if it comes from congressional leaders, because right now Congress is not functioning as a check and a balance.
No, and we don't have control, so we really can't do anything. Although I would argue we should be doing some things, even though that we theoretically can't. We should be holding shadow hearings to everything they do. But I digress.
But the point in here is in what the state governors doing this. It is a type of Congress, because it is a collection of the states to protect states' rights, which is part of the check and balance of Congress. But the states do have authority through Congress as well. So that is where this starts to go south on Trump. And it's not surprising that someone like Steve Bannon and Stephen Miller and Donald Trump would not think this through, but they
don't think anything through. I mean, again, they don't know how to build, they don't know how to create, they know how to destroy. And it's worked for them because we haven't created positive narratives and created infrastructure and all the shit that I'm not going to go into right now. But support indie media, by the way. Subscribe to Tony's Substack. Subscribe to blueamp.co. I forget what the URL is of Tony's. He can give it to you, to mine. I'll tell you, while we're here tomorrow on Substack only, I know there's some folks watching here on Substack, but just for my show, Amped Up with Cliff Schecter, we have Joyce Vance. She knows a few things about the law. And by that, I say a lot. So it's going to be really cool to talk to her tomorrow and have her. So, you can only join on Substack. Please come subscribe, join. It's free. Watch. Learn from Joyce Vance as we will. And Karen Klein just had a great point here, and I want to share it, which is Oops, Karen Klein already shut down no imports. Oh, okay. She said shut down the ports in Los Angeles and Long Beach, but I guess Olga Martinez is saying that they're already shut down. But, that was a great idea. Again, these are the ideas we need. We need ideas that will hurt them economically. We need ideas that will hurt them with public opinion, and those are related. They affect each other. These are the kinds of ideas, and you have to always be thinking in your mind, what will it look like on TV if I'm going to do something? If you're throwing a Molotov cocktail at an ice truck, we're going to look like the bad guys. Okay. And I wouldn't do that anyhow, but really don't do it. For whatever their behavior is, they're them, they're criminals, and we're us. We're not. It doesn't mean we don't fight as hard. It just means, but that was the whole reason Gandhi and Martin Luther King, and I mean, that's why they came up with this strategy of civil disobedience. It sucks. Some of us, John Lewis got his head beaten in. But guess what happened? We got civil rights. I mean, at least it got a lot better. The point is that if you are very clearly doing nothing, which you can make very clear by sitting down or dancing to Mexican music or whatever it might be, and you are very, you're dressed in the kind of attire that can't be concealing any weapons. So they can't try to make some bullshit claim later that you were, and all of that. You've got Tony's pocket constitution with you. As somebody said earlier, somebody put in here to not answer any of the police's questions till you have a lawyer present. As I said to you, that is true. That's mostly true, because the two things you need to say, or I'd say three things you need to say before that are, am I being arrested or detained? It's an important distinction. Detained means let me just keep you around there for a little bit. Arrested is, if you're being arrested, you say, on what charges am I being arrested? I'm an American citizen. And after that, you say, I am going to talk no further. I will speak no further until I have a lawyer present, as is my right under the Fifth Amendment. You're done. And after that, any question they ask you, you don't answer. Right. I mean, also, another little trick is they will try to get into your phone. Deactivate your facial recognition when you go to these protests, because they can't legally compel you to give them your password unless they're charging you with something. And what they can do is put your phone in front of your face and get into your phone. So deactivate the biometrics, make sure there's no way that they can open your phone without your permission. Do all that. And then every question they ask, is it too hot in here? I'm sorry, I can't answer any further questions without a lawyer present, as is my rights in the U.S. Constitution and the Fifth Amendment. Whatever it may be. I suppose if you have to pee at some point, you might have to say, I need to pee. But the point being is, you don't answer anything. Nothing. Who you're with, what you were doing, where you were last night, who your friends are, what kind of movies you like. None of it. You answer none of it without a lawyer present. Those are our rights. They're right fucking there. And these January 6th thugs can't appreciate that well, and it's just too fucking bad for them. So
that's right.
I was angry today during my thing, and I'm still angry. I think it only made me angrier that I couldn't bring you and David in, because I was ready to just open up a whole can of whoop ass, even beyond my rant at the beginning. I think I've got another rant coming before I say goodbye to everybody. It has to do with flags, Mexican flags, which I'm not going to hold a phone here and do a rant, so I'll wait a little bit, because that'll look a little weird. Hey, look, it's me and my friend Tony. We're doing a rant together.
Is it illegal to carry a Mexican flag?
I don't believe it's illegal, but I do believe that Charlie Kirk, who Gavin Newsom should never have on a fucking podcast again, by the way, has said that if you're holding a Mexican flag, you should be immediately deported without any due process and assumed to be Mexican. Again, I can be critical and I can be complimentary. He's done a great job here.
Well,
the only thing I would let me say one thing. The only thing I would say where I think, and I wouldn't have known this, a friend of mine who's a smart political type sent me a text and was saying this and whatever. So I wouldn't have known to do this. The only other thing I can think of that I would have, or the only thing I can think of now that he told me that Gavin Newsom maybe should have done is actually when we're talking about preempting them and getting ahead of Donald Trump, is that he should have called in the National Guard potentially first under his guidance. And that would have been a way for Donald Trump to not be able to go around him and usurp it or whatever. But again, it's hard. I think that's being a little demanding. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
You can't think of everything, and I think he has recovered and not even recovered, but pulled it together and just done a very good job under incredibly difficult circumstances. So,
well, I believe that Gavin Newsom the entire time has been operating in a political space, and I think if we understand political spaces as opposed to cultural space, because it is a little different, right? Like your religion is different than your culture, your faith is different than your religion, and the politics of everything is different too. But
the fact that like you're a Confucius, from what I remember, but you still live in Missouri.
Right. Well, I mean, and that's
random, really failed joke. Go.
But what we have to understand is Gavin Newsom is operating with the politics of it, and he's trying to navigate the politics of it. Where with the trans athlete thing, I believe he was reflecting his opinion, his personal opinion, and he was kind of eaten alive by that. I
think he was reflecting his opinion too. I think it comes off as, and I think there's a debate there. But I think it comes off as a more bad faith when you're doing it with Charlie Kirk. And if you're doing it with, as I've said to you before, somebody who's more in the cultural space, as you brought up, then the purely political, Charlie Kirk may fake being in a cultural space, but he's a political operative is all he is. Even if you go on with a Joe Rogan, even if you go on with a Theo Vaughn, even if you go on somebody who's in a different space who I may happen to disagree with on all sorts of shit, but I really don't believe anybody's telling Joe Rogan what to say. I think he says what he really thinks. I think a lot of the time it's dumb and wrong, but that's my opinion. I don't think he came to this with any sort of, political notion. He's just being who he is. And so you want to break the mold. If you're Gavin Newsom, you want to say, hey, I'm not going to just have Democrats on and liberals on. To me, that's where you go. Charlie Kirk is a piece of shit before. He's a piece of shit after. He'll be a piece of shit, when he's dead and buried. There's no point in Charlie Kirk's existence from fetus to death where he will not have been a piece of shit.
I mean, I couldn't have said it better, because Charlie Kirk is certainly a piece of shit.
And I wish him a long life, in case anybody thinks I'm trying to say negative, because I want him to have to look at that potato face in the mirror for years and years and be like, what, which of my sisters had sex with my dad to have me? So
here's the other thing that I'll say about
if I don't lose like monetization for this at this point, I'm actually going for it in some ways. I don't care anymore, because
usually when you have me on, usually when people have me on their YouTube channel.
Well, that's true. But long before you came on here, I told people, I said that rant I was going to do about Los Angeles, there's no way that could be close to clean. So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, so here's the other thing when you talk about Gavin Newsom and Charlie Kirk, or having Steve Bannon on. And I've made this point before, and I think it's relevant. Maybe people think that it's kind of, down the list of importance, but I think that what Gavin Newsom was doing was offering an opportunity to introduce himself to not just his audience, because obviously he has an audience, but he was introducing himself to Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon's audience. And I know that sounds like, well, why would he want to do that? Well, because he wants, like you said, you want to preemptively define yourself. And if you preemptively define yourself to those audiences, it's going to be very difficult for Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon. And what we should do is we should go get the pictures of Gavin Newsom and Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon standing next to each other and like with the arms around each other.
Well, show it right now and be like, hey, I guess you agree with
right. When you love Gavin Newsom, just weeks ago, you were willing to go on his podcast. I mean, what the hell's the problem
no,
now?
But again, I don't want to debate it any further. I mean, you and I have had these discussions numerous times. You know, this is one of those things I think we just disagree on. And I mean, I think he could have accomplished the same thing because to me, the audience, to me, a Charlie Kirk or Steve Bannon audience is such a partisan audience. I don't think you have a chance. I do think you can win members of the Joe Rogan audience because I do know people who are moderate or whatever who watch Joe Rogan. I think you can win members of the Theo Von audience. Okay. Those are the two I'm saying, but there's others I'm not thinking of. I think there are people that are more, you know, cultural in the cultural space who lean conservative or are conservative where you can win people. I think when it's partisan hacks like Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon, I think you've got very little space to gain and very little to gain from that. That's my opinion on it.
And I think we you know, to some extent we have to agree to disagree here. But I will say this, that I think that what Donald Trump is doing is not damaging Gavin Newsom. He is elevating Gavin Newsom, no matter what people's feeling or viewpoint is about those interviews that he may have done or what he said or acted in those interviews with Steve Bannon and Charlie Kirk. But the important thing here is that Gavin Newsom is being elevated and has the opportunity to co-opt a movement. I don't know if he will, you know, like that's kind of up to Gavin Newsom, whether his leadership extends past his obligation of being the governor of California.
Right.
Right. I don't think Gavin Newsom has any kind of obligation to the rest of the country past his elected office of the governor of California. That's what he has to do first.
Yep.
That's what he took an oath to do. But I mean, if he decides to become the face of this political movement and co-opt it, I think that it's very easy to see that a lot of people would rally around him. And, you know, it's really early on. Like, there's
Well, we'll see. I'm still an Andy Bashir guy, if I'm going to be honest with you.
Well, I mean, but can you imagine a Newsom Bashir ticket?
No,
Think about that.
because our party won't allow it. I can.
Well,
It should. If we can get past identity politics and say we need to win.
I'll give you two words. I'll give you two words to our party. If they decide that that's not what they want, fuck you. And because the thing that the country needs to understand is we do not have to listen to the institution of the parties. Our obligation of we the people is to the Constitution. And in the Constitution, it does not lay out parties at all. Parties were developed through politics.
In fact, it's the opposite. Madison wrote in the Federalist Papers, I believe number 10, about factions, and he was referring to parties as being, you know, a terrible thing for democracy because he knew they led people to behave irrationally. Because you would.
John Adams felt the same way. He did not like the parties either. But you know, we were drawn into this side and that side once we became a nation, and that you know, we're tribal. Humans are tribal.
Absolutely.
They pick their tribe, and at the time it was the Federalist versus the Democratic Republicans, which the leader of the Democratic Republican thought process and
Was the guy
at that point was Thomas Jefferson.
Right.
So if we look towards Jefferson and more Jeffersonian type ideology, I think it kind of gets us out of this mess because what we can do is undermine this idea that we have to be in parties or that our tribes are parties. Our tribes are ideals and ideologies that span past and aren't pinned to a party.
Well,
right?
Sorry. Well, I have to go soon because I have to do another rant and I have to jump off and you've got to go sing karaoke. I just wanted to say I'm gonna make it a lot, you know, and I can get into political like philosophy forever. I love that shit, right? History, philosophy, so I can talk about this stuff, and you and I do. But for the purpose of the audience here, I'm just gonna keep it simple in my belief, which is honestly, I do not care. I do not care if you're white, male, and Christian. I do not care if you're black, Muslim, and lesbian. I don't care what the hell you are. If you are the person or you are the two people that have the best chance of winning back the presidency and vice presidency of the United States of America for sanity, for the Democratic, which the only entity that possesses any of that is the Democratic Party at this point, then I'm supporting you. And I hope everyone will get behind that, because the truth of the matter is that what the people do who are in power is a hell of a lot more important than what they look like or what God they believe in. The truth, I get it, that we needed to break ceilings, we needed to get firsts, and we still do when it comes to a woman president in this country, you know. And I was just heartbroken as everybody else. But honestly, I want my kids growing up in a democracy. And right now, if in the end it looks like that two white Christian dudes, and I'm not a Christian dude, you know, so I'm not speaking for you know, I'm not sticking up for my people here. I'm saying whoever the two people are who are the best ticket, I don't give a shit what they look like. I don't care what they identify as. I don't care what their religion is. I care none of that. I care that they've got the character strength, you know, they've got the fortitude, the abilities, and they will fight and they will win. And that's all I care about at this point, because we have to win. And that's where I stand. So if anybody, if an amazing, you know, black candidate, an amazing woman candidate, of course, if they're the best candidate to win, I support them. But I'm not going to say we must have X on the ticket or we must have Y, because to me, all we must do with this ticket is win. That's where I'm at.
I'm in the same spot, and I got to get out of here too. So thank you, Cliff, for having me on. Sort of.
I know. Can you FaceTime me into your when you do your karaoke later so I can sing?
Sure. I mean, if you like for me to hold you up to the microphone for you to sing, maybe.
I would like it because I enjoy that shit. We'll see if you actually do it. Hey, thanks for being here. You can thank everybody if you want to. And
all right, audience, go to theTonyMichaels.com and download the free Pocket Constitution. That's all I got to grift on you is you get something for free.
Who else? Who,
you
you know,
best grift.
right. You're a beautiful man, Tony. Go be sexy, and I'll talk to you later.
All right, thanks,
man. Bye. That was fun, wasn't it? Not modern technology, I believe we'd call it. Had to do that because I'd never tried FaceTime before somebody on air, and it seemed like a good time when people are telling me they're the invite. Both of them, David and Tony, were like, "This is for some empty room where there isn't anybody." And I was like, "Well, I don't know what the hell's going on here, and I still don't know." And it'll be interesting when this is all over, when I look at this and see, like, I wasn't on Twitch. I don't know if I'm on YouTube. I don't know where the hell this thing's playing through. It may just be like 8 of us in a room here talking. Which, if it is, you guys have been great. I want to talk about one more thing before we leave, and I brought it up already. So let's get ready for this one, okay? And you know, this system sucks. I'm going to start by saying where you know to put in video like I did earlier and put it up, you have to actually like you can't just drag it in. You have to like click on it, you know, and do it that way, because it makes this a much bigger pain in the ass. It makes it harder to find the things that you want to put in there. But okay, we're gonna do this anyhow. Charlie Kirk, potato head, loudmouth, embarrassed. Did you see him at the Oxford Union by that British student who just said how full of crap he was and what an opportunist he was and whatever? And Charlie, he was just sitting there looking like a sliced potato. I think he was a French fried potato at that point. Who knew what was going to happen with old Charlie? He might just start crying, and he'd be a wet potato. I'm going to stop with all the potato talk, even though it's kind of what he is. But, you know, you wave the Mexican flag, you're not American. First of all, have any of these people ever been to a soccer game? What the fuck are they talking about? If you wave America, I mean, people, by the way, are at all sorts of stadiums waving all sorts of flags. See, that's the thing that Charlie Kirk and his ilk will never get about America, is that we can all be proud of where we come from. We can be proud of our various heritages and backgrounds. And part of my family is from Ukraine. Part of my family is from Germany. Part of my family is from Austria. Part of my family is from Romania. Part of my wife's family is from Sicily, where we've gone and visited. It's beautiful, you know, and but these people who just like, well, you can't have any pride now. You're just, you know, and of course they're the same people who always have pride in flags that aren't American, because they're full of crap. And of course, you know, I don't know. Let's see. Just in case you're wondering what I'm talking about here, why don't we pull this up and I can show you exactly what I mean, because this really isn't difficult. You see, there is the American, there's the, oh, look at how many of these things won't even allow me to grab them. That one will. Hey, look at this. Wow. The American flag. I don't see that there. I do see somebody with a rebel sun flag and a Confederate flag on their shirt, which, by the way, happens to be the flag of the largest act of murderous treason in the history of this nation. Oh, that's okay. You can wave your Confederate flag. You can love your Confederate flag. You can bring it to rallies. And that's why I'm annoyed, because most of these things seemingly won't let me pull them in here. But we saw them all over the attacks on the Capitol. Remember that one asshole? I think he may have been the one that went to Pelosi's office walking, waving a Confederate flag. There's that famous image of Mitch McConnell standing accepting an award in front of a Confederate flag. George Allen almost made the Confederate flag his wife back 20 years ago, 15 years, whenever he ran for governor of Virginia. Sorry, you lost almost every race you ran, George. I'm sad about that. These guys have embraced, loved, flown over their capitals the flag of an act of rebellion, an act of treason, an act that killed the largest number of Americans in the history of any war by a lot. But they're going to tell us what flags are allowed. They're going to say, you can't have a Mexican flag. You can't have a Colombian flag. Well, how dare you have a French flag? Hey, I purposely, knowing I was going to do this, wore my French hat tonight. I lived in France for a bit. J'aime beaucoup le français. I don't give a shit if they don't like it. See, that's the part about freedom. I love France. I love Italy. I love those places. I will go there. I will eat their food. I will speak their languages. I will enjoy myself. And Charlie Kirk can shove it up his potato-filled ass. Okay? That's the part about being American, is we have these freedoms. So waving a Mexican flag and being proud of your heritage doesn't make you any less American than anybody else. In Charlie Kirk's case, it makes you more American than him, because he's Russian. And even though we don't know that he, like his buddies Dave Rubin and Benny, the Benny Johnson, who goes by Benny, what a tool, and Tim Pool can never take that stupid Kenny from South Park cap off. Hey, look, they're all being paid by Russia. What a shock. They should have to wear Russian flags. So should Donald Trump. So should Paul Manafort. So should Steve Bannon, and so should all of them. That's their flag. But you're going to tell people they can't wave a Mexican flag? They should be deported for that? Honestly, fuck you. That's not the America I live in, and you're not invited to that America. You can leave. Go live in your own little wasteland of Nazism. Let's see if there's any others in here that we can pull in here. It's kind of a sad shame that I can't. Some of these image files just will not allow me. Let's see this one. Oh, look, hey, here's a Michigan state legislator. He did put the mask on, the state senator, but oh, look, it's a Confederate flag he's wearing. Oh, I'm shocked by this. And look, hey, do we have anything else in here? Can we find somebody else who sat here and utterly and betrayed the United States of America, not necessarily during the war, but certainly since then, if they walked around holding Confederate flags, flying Confederate flags, damn Dukes of Hazzard with their stupid car. One of my favorite things about Tom Petty is that, he used to have that Confederate flag. And when he being the great guy that he was, he said, as soon, he was a young kid, he didn't know. As soon as he learned what it was about, he was ashamed and he apologized for it. Anybody who knows what that flag stands for, there's a reason it came back, folks. It wasn't flown for 100 years. Do you know when it came back? When the southern states started flying again? Shockingly, it was right after the Brown versus Board of Education decision. Gee, I don't know. What were they getting at there? Were they getting at the fact that, well, we're not going to allow our kids to be in school with those little kids that are different than ours? Right. That may have been what it was about. Do I have another image to show you while we're talking about flags and obviously the importance in flags in determining who you are in this world? Because clearly, if you're carrying a Confederate flag, who you are is a traitor, and you should be treated as such. All right, let's see what else. One more. Oh, look at that. This is a great one. Look, it's not a flag. It's just Cindy Hyde-Smith, a U.S. senator from Mississippi. They made a movie called Mississippi Burning for a reason. 3 civil rights workers kidnapped and murdered, but that's one of just, Medgar Evers. We can go through the atrocities of Mississippi forever. But wow, look at that. Wearing a Confederate hat declares Mississippi history at its best. Yeah, right. When you were busy kidnapping Black Americans and lynching them. And when you were busy fighting against the United States of America, killing American soldiers because you're a bunch of fucking traitors, because you're a bunch of weepy, whiny, little weak white motherfuckers who just couldn't possibly defend yourselves now, could you? You couldn't possibly compete in an economy where you didn't have slave labor, in an economy where you didn't have an advantage over others eventually, who you put into Jim Crow so that you can make sure that your jobs were protected and your neighborhoods were protected, right? You just couldn't do that. But then you wonder, after you deprive people and, you know, you split up families, insult them, discriminate against them, you just wonder maybe why that there were social issues in Black neighborhoods. If we deprived any of you people of 1/100th of what you did, the Black communities in this country, all of you people will be eating your own poop probably. So why don't you shut up and take that, oh, you know, I'm wearing my Confederate flag and it's Mississippi history at its best. I can think of a place where the sun doesn't shine where you can put that thing, Cindy. Not to mention that rifle of yours. Yeah, these are the people questioning Mexican flags. You're traitors. Okay. You don't believe in America. You believe in the Confederacy. You believe in a slave owning, backward ass, worker exploited, socially regressive, repressive 18th century America. And that's what you're trying to bring the rest of us back to. And we're not going. So stop questioning Mexican flags and maybe look at your own stupid people in the mirror and start questioning why you would wear a flag that all it does is glorify the killing of Americans and the enslavement of Americans. Maybe you do that. Until then, I'll take anybody with a Mexican flag every day of the week and twice on Sundays over any one of you Confederate flag wearing assholes. And that is all I have to say about that, as Forrest Gump once said. This has been a day of some, forced child labor. Exactly right, Jim. I couldn't get it all in there. I was trying to think as I was going. It's been a day of some frustration, not being able to get the folks in here that I wanted, but also a little bit of a day of it was kind of fun bringing Tony in that way. And I hope you enjoyed the initial rant about what's going on. And both of them are really about Los Angeles. First one, our response to it and what we need to do. And the second one, the hypocrites who just think flags determine everything. Anybody else have anything else you need to get off your chest? Because we're already beyond. I like to go an hour 15. We're at the hour 23 mark. So who's coming with me? Anybody have anything on the way out the door? Look at that. 4 nice folks have been awesome. Sheldon Hughes, what a shocker, has gifted a Cliff's Edge membership. E.T. We talked about earlier, $5 membership. Does Mini Tony have a mini? There are protesters that stopped looters and other stuff. Look at that. Wow, good protesters. E.T. again. E.T., you're becoming, you're entering that pantheon with Jim and McAndrews and Devin and Lefty Gramps and others when it comes to your generosity is, I think, the word in English here. If you go to the Mobilize site, you can see there are also going to be protests in Europe, Central America, Africa, South America. Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of protests against the United States all over the place. And some in those local areas against their own governments, like maybe El Salvador. Wouldn't that be nice? I think that's everything. I didn't miss. Oh, of course, Sheldon Hughes gifted another membership. Look at that. So Sheldon and ET have come through. How about, 1.99 super sticker to send me on my way? Anybody got that going for me? So I can leave and not take my Confederate flag with me, and I can leave and prepare for my No Kings rally on Saturday. I will bring you guys live footage if you're on Substack definitively, but I'll bring you some footage here. I promise you that. Sheldon Hughes, of course, coming through with 2. Sheldon, you're the best. And we're getting together for dinner one of these times. I don't know where you live, but you've got my Cliff at Blue Amp Strategies email, all right? Sheldon, send me an email. ET, you do that too. Others. Mr. Android, $3.33. Things will always work out. They just get better. I don't know if you're being sarcastic or not, but they're going to get better because we're going to make them get better. Cliff at blueampstrategies.com. Seriously, let's see if they tell me that I can't send this to you guys because it's like spam or something. I'm really going to be interested to see where these things end up. He told me that I wasn't going to get through to Twitch, but now So they're just comments at Twitch. Petrazzi too, a $10 super sticker. My gosh. And Petrazzi, if I remember, you're from you're from Kentucky, right? Because you said your governor was this year. Well, we may not be that far away from each other. What do you all think about some kind of a Cliff's Edge get together somewhere? I don't know where everybody's from. It might be difficult, but we could do it. But I'm going to grab what I need to organize. This is the kind of thing you write down to get the folks who are kind enough to donate and be members and try to plan a get together. And I certainly think we can put ourselves into a position where we can do a Zoom where maybe I get a couple of you folks on there and we just chat. But in any case, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. These are the kinds of things you want to walk out the door. I can take a train to New York City, Amethyst Pony, and you've been generous in supporting us here too before. So thank you for that. You should be including this. Well, as I've told you, I'm from New York City. I'm often in New York City, where my mom still lives and other members of my family. So we could always have a Midwest get together somewhere in the Cincinnati area. If Chicago is better, we could do it there. Or if you could make it to my little hub here in Cincinnati or something like that. And then we could always do one in New York or Philly, where I went to college and still love. We could find a place on the East Coast too. Maybe Jim, you and I shall talk because you're in the know better than me, and you probably know where everybody's from and all the details, and maybe we'll get that figured out. But I think that's what we're going to do, and I think we've made ourselves heard today. I hope so. I will just say thank you for being here. Remember, tomorrow, Joyce Vance. You're not going to get much better. 2 p.m. Eastern. Amped Up with Cliff Schecter, my show. David Schustster will be there unless there's some other way he can't get in. I'm sure I'll create a way accidentally. No, he'll be there. Joyce will be there, and we're going to have a really cool conversation. All of us, please join us. Again, if you subscribe over there, it is free. As much as I would tell you I would love paid subscribers, that would be nice, but it is free. So that's it. Be well. Thank you for being here. Thank you for tolerating the technical issues, which today were like none I've experienced. It wasn't like just the microphone. There were like 6 of them. And as I like to say, folks, as the sun sets slowly in the west, I bid you a fond farewell. Take care.